It's the Bill and Corey Show WebEx edition. Yeah, we are not.
The office is getting renovated version.
Yeah, the office is getting renovated version, so we can't. The studio, Icebox Studio, is closed for business, so we're going to try to do this one remotely. So we're going to just show screenshots and stuff and chat. So the first question is somebody wanted a Rotameter Divider. And you go, what the heck is that? So we're going to talk a little bit about this. Is a 2-tube mixer. We sell this in the online store. It has 2 tubes, and it's got a mixing tube in the middle there.
Oh. And what if it didn't mix anything and just instead divided things?
Okay. So you've got inlet for one gas here. I'm pointing to the knob or the valve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the back. There's inlet there, inlet there. Actually, no, I got all that wrong. Let's start over again. Inlet at the bottom. You have to flow up to
the inlet is in the bottom. Yes,
inlet is the bottom.
We don't have a
Rotameter, the balls,
picture of it
floats
on this
go
website.
Up. So inlets are in the bottom, and this is the valve controls the flow, and then everything comes together up top, and then it goes through. This thing's a mixing tube, and it's black because it's got a little dark brush in there. Mm-hmm. And then the outlet's in the bottom, so that it mixes. So if you want to mix 2 gases, that's the way to go. And someone wanted something. They wanted to have 1 gas inlet, 2 gas outlets. So they had. Do you remember what the gas was there, Corey?
It was helium.
Helium. So they have helium, and they want to just have a single source helium, and they want to split the flow to different instruments. So.
And you can do it a bunch of ways. Like what they were doing was they had just a valve to do it at the time. You can also, there are various ways you can split the flow. But when I suggested this method, they were actually interested in it. So we went with this method.
So this is an upside down mixer.
Essentially, yes. Yeah, essentially, I see how you flipped it.
I flipped it. And I did some. I'm not a Photoshop guy, so if you see, yeah.
No, but you put the Matheson logo correctly and the tubes correctly.
Yeah,
no,
it's just and it really doesn't look like that. That's just a bad Photoshop deal. But I try to do the best. So, anyways, here you got. Inlet is now in the middle. 1 gas inlet is in the back here in the middle, and then we actually do it without the mixing brush in the tube.
Yeah,
you really don't need.
Yeah, you don't need that now. That's just going to cause a pressure drop, perhaps. That you don't need.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So the gas comes in up here. I keep getting things messed up. So the gas is coming in the back up here, and it flows down, and it goes to both sides, and then the valve opens up and it goes out that way. So that's the outlet.
And that's where you do the valves. You can figure, whatever flow you want to go to each tube. That's where you can control it.
Yeah. So it'd be nicer if we had the actual one to show you how it.
No, we'll have to get a picture. We'll have to get a picture of the one we make, I think.
Yeah. So that's so it's a little confusing, and then we make a lot more mixers than we do dividers, so it can be a little confusing.
I think it's more confusing than it should be because it's. I don't know. It's sort of a. You're just flipping the tubes and keeping the what's the word I'm looking for?
The
yes.
frame. Yeah.
The
so
frame
basically, what you do is
you
take
frame
a divider, you flip the tubes, and you flip the sticker, and then or you can just take the sticker off.
We want the sticker for advertisement purposes.
Yeah. So that's that. And then we got. I'm gonna pull up. So that's this next question. Someone had a question on the 6427 oxygen moisture trap. And why does a picture come up on the side? and they wanted it with VCR fittings on the inlet and outlet. And these
Mm.
have, we can only, the only options you have are 1/4 inch swage lock or 1/8 inch swage lock. And what gets a little tricky with this is oxygen and moisture trap. So you really just can't take the fittings off and put on new fittings. You'd have to do it because you're going to expose it to air, and air has
Oxygen.
oxygen. And it kind of
thankfully
messes.
for thankfully for our species, it does.
Yes. So, and also, take a look at it. You got some special epoxy there holding the
Hmm.
fittings in. So you're not taking these suckers out. I'm sorry. So you can't. We don't
Is
have a
is there
VCR.
is there anything wrong with adding a VCR connection that connects to a swage lock fitting? Could you
Oh yeah,
do
you
that?
can. It's going to be one of these plumbing nightmare things
Yeah, it is a plumbing nightmare. It's
because
one of
you'd
those things
have
that
to. Yeah, you get a VCR fitting that VCR by swage lock, and then you'd have a port connector, so this
Mhm.
would extend off big time.
Yeah, that goes against one of the things I've always been taught as an engineer is like, does it look dumb? And if so, why?
Yes, it does look dumb, but it's like just go with a freaking. I'm sorry, just go with a swage lock fitting. Yeah, that's we get questions all the time about different
No,
fittings.
and it's a fair question. It really is a fair question.
Yeah,
So it's just one of those ones that you're just like,
yeah, ain't gonna work. Okay, and then
and now
now we got. I'll read this one. This is on our.
the
Oh,
underrated question of the week.
yeah, and I'm gonna edit it a little bit. I bought a Matheson regulator, LPHF 500-580 for a special. I can't pronounce that name. Something 4000 W laser. We are having pressure issues. I have the company tech on site.
Hmm.
Another day, I need to speak to someone before he leaves. So he wanted to talk to us.
So I called immediately and talked to them.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
what happened was they were having 400 psig showing out of the regulator, via the gauge. But by the time the gas reached what their laser setup, it was only about, as they said to me, 9 bar, which comes out to about 130 psig. And they were wondering why that is. And so I talked with them. They had a hose going to the system, and in that hose though as well, they also had a filter. And I can't say exactly why the pressure drop happened, but the filter makes me think it could be the filter, and they had to look into it more. Um, but if sometimes, like we've talked about gauges before, how they can be a little bit off based on their plus or minuses. And so I thought, when I first was talking to the person, I thought that might be the case. But I mean, you can't go from 400 to 130 psig and think, oh well, the gauge is just off a little bit. That's not the case in this.
Yeah, it's not the accuracy of the gauge.
It's not the accuracy of the gauge.
So, I
And
mean,
so,
the LPHF, this is an extremely high flow regulator.
mhm.
And oh, maybe I'll pull up the flow curve here. It's at the bottom here. That mounting equipment should be
I
right
love
here.
the flow curve of this one because it's not a curve.
Yeah, I know. It's like boom, it's
It's
a
a straight
straight
line.
line. This is a dome assist, so you can get some serious flow through this baby. So 400 psi, they're showing that, and this is only with 450 inlet at 350. You can get a bazillion, like 100.
Yes,
Yeah, a lot. You can get a lot.
you get a lot through that.
Yeah, you can get serious flow through that thing. So you have obviously you have some kind of flow restriction. So the
Hmm.
filters are a big one.
Hmm.
So you got
And this is our filter. I don't know what filter they were using, but
yeah,
this is the filter we have. I just want to be clear, this is the filter that we have in our system.
yeah. Um, Yeah, so this thing could do like 100 cubic feet a minute kind of deal. Not the filter, but the Laser Pro. And this filter, it's a Swage Lock filter. Um, you can buy it from Swage Lock. It has and there's pressure drops across filters. So this has a maximum flow rate of 16 CFM. So it's way below your 100 CFM. You're going to see a 15 PSI pressure drop. So if you get, and that's all the data we got on that. Maybe we'll do some other flow testing on it, but that's the data we got from Swage Lock. So if you're going, at 16 CFM, find you this thing, the regulator can do 100. You get 15 psi pressure drop. So I don't know what it's going to be if you're up around the 100 CFM range. What kind
Yeah,
of
so
pressure
I mean,
drop?
as the flow goes up, the pressure drop will also increase.
And the hose, it's hopefully they'll have typically we sell a Laser Pro hose, which is 3/4 inch fur fittings. It's 1/2 inch nominal inside diameter. So hopefully you're using that because it's going to have a less pressure drop than if you use one of our
Yeah,
standard hoses. Um,
yeah. Our standard hoses are 1/4 inch diameter, and this one is 1/2 inch, correct?
yeah, 1/2 inch ID.
Yeah,
So these
yeah.
are
So I mean, you're doubling the ID.
yeah. So these are our hoses, and we did a little bit of pressure drop testing on these hoses. So we tested this, and let's just take a 6 foot hose. It's the longest one we did. You're going to see a 10 psi pressure drop at 7 cubic feet a minute. That's just obviously we try it at higher flow rates, but that's a pretty decent flow rate. So you can see you're going to get some pressure drop across the hose, even though it's really just the hose. There's nothing really obstructing in there. So you're going to get pressure drop stuff going on with that. Yeah, so he's got something restricting his flow. The regulator's going to be, probably fine. Most likely, it's most likely
Some downstream of it.
something downstream.
And that's just one thing you have to remember when you're putting systems together. Pressure drops and even flow drops as well. Like you might be getting at this point, right out of the regulator, you might be getting this flow and this pressure, but as you go down the line, there might be some things that could restrict it or change it, and that's something that you always have to think about when you're making a system.
Yep. Yeah, it's more than just the regulator.
It's more than just, yes, exactly.
Okay.
And we could try to help you out with that. I mean, we're not going, we can't dictate what is downstream of from our systems, but as much as we can try, we will try to help you out with that.
Okay. Well, this is pretty good length of a show. So I think we're going to cut off the questions on that. Got through 3 questions. It's about normal. So
Yes.
that's all we got for questions for this week. And then next week, I'm not sure if we're going to do a best of or we might do an in-house one.
In the shop.
In the shop. So we might do that. We got to see how that works. Or we might do another one of these WebEx things. So thanks for
one in the
tuning
shop.
in.
We might decide to do all in the shop. I mean, we might get it. We might find it great to do that. I don't know.
So okay, so that's all we got this week. Tune in again next week for another edition of the Bill and Corey Show.
Set your VCRs.